components of growing marijuana that have a negative impact on the environment? I know you mentioned, the use of herbicides or pesticides. Are there any additional?
The big bugaboo, the big bugaboo that hangs over everyone growing cannabis indoors is the amount of electricity they use.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they use a lot of electricity, and it's often talked about in the wrong way. But I think the industry sort of shies away from the discussion because it doesn't. It's a bugaboo. It kind of scares people to talk about it. I mean, but if the industry starts learning, doing their data, understanding how many photons it takes to grow something, what it costs to buy that photon, and then what you end up with, what it sells, and how much, what it sells for. So the reality is a single serving of cannabis, let's say the 5 or 10 milligram state regulated single serving sizes, the amount of energy it takes to grow that and have it ready for sale is not much greater than the single serving of like tomatoes, or it's less than the single serving of red meat. By a long shot, not ounce by ounce because they're completely different things. But you take a 6 or an 8 ounce steak, has much more carbon overhead and energy use than the 5 or 10 ounce gummy that we were talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting. You hear those stats on how much energy consumption something takes to make, and for those examples that you shared, you think about them singly, and you're overwhelmed with that information, and then when you compare it to other things, it helps you wrap your head around what choices are you making out of all of the choices, what are the better choices, and are they in line with some of my other choices. But hearing them alone, I feel like sometimes is
and then you start adding that up about how much energy they use in Colorado compared to everything else in the state, and it's like that's a big number. And there's no denying it. So I think that and the legal cannabis folks are generally very good about the sort of pesticide impacts and those kinds of things. Growing inside, you can't use a lot of nasty stuff because you have to breathe it. Mm-hmm. Growing in greenhouses is the same thing. Growing outdoors, people can get sketchy, I think, but I don't do that, so I can't really speak to that side of the industry.